Hi everybody, this is Susan Roche. I'm your Week 7 discussion board moderator. This week was pretty exciting on the discussion board because now we're being asked to implement some of these great ideas we've been learning about. Lourdes was the first brave soul to post this week. She went back to the mission statement of her school, which was to lead economic and workforce development. She used these goals and focus to talk about recreational youth programs. She states she comes from a poor community, and networking to get the youth in the community focused on higher education is really a great goal. She talks about teaching wellness and even focused on the texting while driving issue, which certainly could prevent a lot of car accidents. She also looked at first responders. This seemed to be a common place to start for most people within their communities. We talked about applying for funding. Janice added that there's really a lot of funding sources out there in the community, and you just need to network to find out where this funding is coming from and what are the goals and objectives of the funding. We also talked about lack of trained simulation educators, and Lourdes was quite frustrated with this, that she feels like she's working in a vacuum sometimes. Well, certainly there are a great need to train faculty in simulation-based learning and educational techniques. She states that even one of her colleagues challenged her at what a waste of time a course, this certification course was. And that's just wrong, and she doesn't understand the goals of a program such as this. It certainly has broadened my horizons and helped me become much better in focusing in on what simulation-based learning can offer. We talked a lot about community team building and establishing those partnerships, looking at those relationships and nurturing them, and marketing to this community. Who are you? What do you do? Don't wait for a project to come up and then go contact people. Get out there and start meeting people up front. Chris Wilson, her vision and mission was looking at interpersonal team training. She too focused on emergency medical systems, which included paramedics, first responders, and the police department. Disaster incident training, intra-organizational communications, and disaster preparedness. Wonderful initiatives. And the article that talked about using these types of things in biohazard training was really interesting this week. Another target for her was, again, the community schools, K through 12. Team training, communication skills, not only focusing in on students, but also on the parents and the faculty as well. Learning about community organizations is very important. The discussion talked about how you get to do this. Some suggestions were to visit their webpage, understand their goals and philosophies. We use research findings based, simulation-based research, and look at how effective it's been. This certainly is a true selling point, especially with emergency medical services, and there seems to be a little bit more about that topic in the literature. Looking and networking with the community leaders. They understand their needs, and so you need to partner with them and develop programs that meet those needs specifically. Reducing costs for simulation by partnerships is always a great way to focus. Could you barter services? If you're providing a program to train an agency's employees, would they be willing to absorb some of the costs of that training? Donna talked about a great program RMU is offering to education majors, reaching out to those stakeholders right within your own facility, and has simulated experiences for education majors in interacting with parents. Dan focused on Red Cross Youth, discussion about Scouts, both Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, elementary students taking field trips, making and enhancing those experiences with simulation. Janice brought up home care, nursing homes, and geriatric care centers. These are springing up everywhere. As we look into the new concepts of the IOM report with the group homes, again, great opportunities for simulation-based training. Deb had a great project working on readmission rates with congestive heart failure, and they narrowed it down to 17% of the readmissions were coming from one nursing home. She worked with that nursing home and developed increase their education base and was wondering the additional benefit that simulation-based training would bring to a situation like that. Certainly a great idea. We talked about marketing your success stories once you've done a successful program, getting those community partnerships to support you in your endeavors. And Deb had a great idea, make a YouTube video. What a great marketing strategy in addition to written materials and a visit, certainly giving them websites that they can visit to further look at your center. In my endeavors in our simulation center, we are looking at outreach already, and I'm really kind of pushing these focus. The first one was to reach out to a local hospital who has their own simulation center, but it is quite limited in its scope. A cardiac educator and an OBGYN educator are really the two that run the sim center. They focus on small groups of staff and really are missing the greater potential of their simulation center. I'm partnering with the cardiac educator because she has just been given the oncology unit and is a little overwhelmed because she has no oncology background. And many people voiced in that this is not uncommon, as we find in hospitals as they're reducing costs, that educators have to cover greater areas that may not be familiar to their clinical background. Also, the HRSA grant that Penn State's applied for with a local hospital, part of that grant will be to bring the simulation center satellite into their hospital, which will make their use of simulation much easier. They're going to target implementation of a palliative care unit and wanted to look at interdisciplinary education as they move forward with that project. The discussion then went into how overwhelmed hospital educators are, lack of specially trained skills for bringing very specific programs, lack of simulation training, and their inability to design simulations. They work off of the standard simulations, which does limit their ability to integrate it into the hospital needs. The next post was from Deb Medley. She also targeted emergency medical services, use of simulation for ACLS, PALS, basic and advanced trauma life support, really focusing on communication skills and working at team steps. The use of standardized patients in EMS is a great idea, really bringing that reality. She highlighted the U.S. Homeland and Security website and programs that are available that include emergency medicine, firefighting, emergency management, and law enforcement. They also could be a potential source for funding, bringing these programs to the community. Also, terroristic threats, mass casualties, biologic agents, and the one article we had for this week talked about doing such a thing with anthrax. Also, Deb brought up targeting nursing homes, looking at cost savings, decreasing morbidity and mortality, collaboration between nursing homes and the hospitals in the discharge process, looking at team steps. Could we get grant funding? Perhaps Highmark would cover educational endeavors like that as it gets patients out of the hospital sooner. Looking at identifying the needs of organizations, talking to the leadership. Most leadership has an idea of what their needs are and is struggling with ways to meet them. Dan talked about nursing homes and palliative care, and certainly that's going to be a huge emphasis as we continue to age. Dan's post, he talked about polytechnic students and moving into nursing, and could we barter services with them for their skill and expertise. And also he targeted civil defense force. Great thing he brought in was the simulated ambulance that would be part of the simulation center. And so when you start looking at trainers like that, you want to plan for enough space. The last post was from Lynn Shepard, who was a little overwhelmed at the concept of outside partners. She states she has to get her house in order first before they can move into the outside. And so she kept reminding us baby steps, which is really important because, you know, the speed is not as important as getting it right and doing things in a very meaningful way. And also the thought process that goes behind it. She pointed out that RMU took over 2 years before they could bring in outside agencies. So again, great discussion board this week. We also brought in magnet status. That creates a lot of needs within organizations. So get out there, partner, and get to know your community resources. Thanks for watching, and see you for the last week on the discussion board.